The Voice of the River, written and narrated by Katie Jones. Not very far from here, there was once a cottage, which wasn't very big and wasn't very small. It was just about the right size for two people to live comfortably side by side. It was in this cottage that Aranwen lived, with her mother, a mere stone throws away from the banks of this very river. Literally, it was so close that Aranwen could open the window of her bedroom and with a smooth round river stone, she could throw it out of the window and hear that satisfactory plop sound as it landed in the river. And at night, the sound of the river would lull her to sleep like a lullaby. Aranwen loved the river. Her favourite time were the summer months, when it slowed down to a gentle flow, and she'd paddle and play, loving the feel of the water flowing around her feet, rushing past her ankles. On particularly hot, sweltering days, she'd go off and find deep, cool pools to practice her swimming in, swimming against the current, developing her swift, strong strokes, marvelling at the sparkles of light upon the water that looked like a diamond-encrusted quilt. And then, when the seasons turned from summer to autumn, she loved to watch the river change its shape and form and become a wild and raging torrent. "Now you be careful," her mother warned her. "Don't be getting too close to that river. It'll sweep you up and before you know it, you'll be down in the sea. You stay well back from the edge of the banks at this time of year, Aranwen. You hear me?" "Yes, mother," she'd reply. For Aranwen had a great, deep respect for the river. She knew her different moods. She knew she could be as gentle and loving as a loving mother, strong, beautiful and kind. And she knew she could be as wild and raging as an angry one, knowing that in a single moment she could destroy all that laid in her path. So, honouring both her mother and the river, she always kept well back at this time of year. Ever since she was little, Aranwen had always gone to the river. When upset or low, the river soothed her. It took away the creases on her brow, it washed away her troubles and her woes. And, when feeling full of those big emotions that often welled up from deep inside, it never failed to bring her back to a sense of peace and calm. When Aranwen was at a loss at what to do and in need of adventure, she'd head down to the river to practice skimming stones or to explore the river's banks. She never knew what she might find. One time she'd come upon a mother otter teaching its young to swim. That had been such a special sight. Aranwen had to keep ever so still, just like this. One night, a storm had risen, and the wind was whipping around the little cottage, making all sorts of sounds that kept Aranwen from her sleep. So she woke up in the morning feeling tired and out of sorts. And, as usual, when feeling this way, she made her way down to the river. Despite the storm the previous night, the day was calm and clear, sunny and bright, the river fast flowing after the night's activity. Aranwen sat herself down against a tree on the bank and watched the river flowing by, watching it whirling and unfurling, its mountainous peaks cresting with ripples. It lulled her into a dreamlike state. And then, suddenly, she heard an unusually loud splash, as if a large fish had jumped up and dived back into the river. She opened her eyes, and there, to her complete surprise, standing before her stood the most incredible being. Her skin was blue, and she was dripping wet. Her skin sparkled and glistened in the morning sun, each droplet reflecting a swirl of rainbows around her. At first, Aranwen started to move backwards, ready to jump up and run. But the tree she was leaning on held her firmly in place. But when she looked up into the being's big, beautiful and kind eyes, she felt a warmth and a flicker of recognition. She knew her. But how? The being before her smiled and spoke. You do not need to be afraid. You know me. You have swam in me, bathed in me, sang in me, honoured me. And I know you. I know how you feel and what you think. I have washed away your troubles and your frowns. I have laughed with you in play and have shared your dreams. But how? Who? What? Stammered Aranwen. The being smiled. I am the spirit of the river. I am the river. Your maps call me the Eastern Cleddau, but my true name is far more ancient. For I am older than this earth, the sun and the moon, older even than the Milky Way upon which your solar system spins. My true name is unpronounceable to you humans, but you can call me Avon Mam, Mother River. Come, there is much I wish to show you. And with that, she took Aranwen's hand and led her to the river bank. Do not be afraid. And for some strange reason, Aranwen was not. On the count of 3, we are going to dive in. 1, 2, 3. And holding each other's hands, the two dived into the river. To Aranwen's surprise, she felt no cold. They dived under the water side by side, darting between startled fish. She saw pike, roach and trout. It was absolutely thrilling to be so fluid, to be one with the river. Avon Mam turned and smiled. And then all of a sudden, Aranwen experienced something completely extraordinary. She suddenly became a part of the river itself. And then she experienced herself as the river, stretching from source to sea, caressing the banks at her side. She felt herself merge with her sister river, the Western Cleddau, to become the haven flowing past Nayland, Milford, to reach the sea. And then she became the sea, lapping the shores with her waves. And then, as she reached out, she became the Atlantic Ocean, touching coast to coast, continent to continent, Africa to America, east to west. As she reached up north and south, she became all of the oceans, wrapping around the world like a great big hug. And then, as the sun warmed her waters, she felt herself rise. She became the water vapour in the air. She merged with air, and she became the clouds swirling around the earth, looking down on all below. And then she began to feel herself get heavier and heavier, and she became the rain, the sleet, the snow. And down, down, down she came, falling softly upon the earth, the mountains, the hills. She found her way into the earth through the cracks and crevices. She became the underground lakes, the aquifers, and the sacred springs. And she rose back out of the earth and became the streams cascaded down the mountainsides. She became the rivers, the lakes, and the reservoirs. And then she became the water in the pipes flowing to people's homes, flowing out of their taps. She became the water in their glass. And when she was drunk, she became the water in each and every one of us, until she flowed out and returned to the river once more. All of this happened in a blink of an eye. She laughed out loud, and when she laughed, all of the water around her transformed into the most beautiful patterns and shapes, like a kaleidoscope. In that moment, she realized that the waters were responding to her and how she was feeling. She felt love, and the structure around her changed again to the most beautiful and intricate heart-shaped patterns. Wow, this is amazing, she thought. Water responds to me and mirrors back my feelings. It changes its whole structure. And so she played with it, like a game, changing her feelings and emotions and watching the water respond, from love to joy to laughter. And then suddenly she blinked, and she found herself sitting in a small cave next to Mother River, now appearing as a blue flickering light, water trickling out of the earth before her. "Why you show me all of this?" Aranwin asked. "Because people have forgotten, and it is time to remember. Water is sacred. Water is life. Water flows within, water flows without. You are water. You are the river. We are one. There are messages I need you to take out to the world, to tell them through your stories and your songs, so the people, they will remember. Now listen closely." Aranwin leaned in and felt a trickle of whispers in her ear. "Tell the people to honour me, to hush their tongues and sit with me, be with me, play with me, care for me, love me. Be the tongue I do not have with others who are deaf to my presence. Do not let the short-sighted abuse of my purity pass you by. Go and protect these waters. Celebrate these waters. Give thanks to all water within and without. Then let me wash it all away. Let me cleanse you. Honour me. Hush your tongue and sit with me. Now you must share this with others." Aranwin felt such a deep reverence for this ancient being before her, so powerful, beautiful, and all-knowing. She who had seen and known so much. She felt both honoured and, if truthful, a little overwhelmed. But she nodded. She would do this. She would do this, and she would do her part. And then she heard her name being called.
"Aranwin? Aranwin?"
It was her mother calling her. Before her the scene shifted. She blinked to try and clear it, but when she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the little cave. She felt the rough bark of the tree at her back, the soft grassy bank beneath her. Oh, it was a dream, she thought, disappointed. But then, as she listened to the sounds of the river, she heard a song. Water is sacred, water is life. Water flows within, water flows without. And she knew what she had to do. And so, as the days and years went by, Aranwen went out and told her story about meeting Avon Mam, Mother River. She sang her songs about sacred water, and every day she gave her love and gratitude to all of the waters within and without. And gradually, the people began to remember. They honoured their rivers, their lakes, their seas. They honoured themselves and each other. And gradually, the waters run pure and clear once more. Thank you for listening. This recording was made as part of a Span Arts Love Stories to Nature commission. Musical accompaniment was provided by Justine Rees, recorded by Jacob Whittaker, and produced by Katie Jones.